Oh, I was not expecting this.
Come one, come all, and gather round. I am Sir Daniel, Knight of the Folly. I come with much haste to deliver a message from the king himself. I quote, "Welcome to the King's Court, the podcast formed around the Reddit community and dedicated to bringing you the latest news, tips and strategies for Wild Rift to keep you informed and up to date. The king has informed me to welcome all of his guests into his majesty's court. He would like all of his guests to know how appreciative he is that they have decided to accompany him on this journey."
Today is going to be a different episode. We have the #1 Wild Rift YouTuber in the world, according to people. We have Stuart today with us. I believe he is a master tier player over on the European server, and he is a successful YouTuber. Without further ado, I guess I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate you inviting me to the podcast. My name is Stuart. I'm from the UK. I'm currently a content creator for iTzSTU4RT, which is a UK organization commonly known in the LEC, which is the PC League of Legends version, like competitive scene. I'm currently Grandmaster, not Master, but it was close. I'll give you that. It was close. Currently Grandmaster, and I currently do my own YouTube and streams, and I focus more on more educational content to help out people from all around the world.
That is awesome. Yeah, sorry, I don't know why when I did my research, I think I ran across a video of yours that said Master.
It's all good. It's all good.
This interview, I wanted to do more of straying away from the game, because Will and I talk about the game all week. What I really wanted to know, like, your unique perspective being a content creator. So what is that like? How did you start, or where did you start saying, okay, I'm going to lock down on Wild Rift, and this is going to be where I just start my future career?
I mean, for me, I played PC League of Legends for about 8 or 9 years now. So I've kind of had that in my background, and ever since really they announced Wild Rift, or I think it was a long time ago now when they first announced it at their 10-year anniversary event. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is something that's actually crazy. And I never actually played a mobile game before Wild Rift before, like ever. I've never played like what's the other one's called, Mobile Legends or anything like that. I've never actually played any sort of mobile MOBAs before. So I mean, when Wild Rift first came out, it was here in the EU. It was in January, I believe, or just before January and December. For me, I felt like I could bring my knowledge over from PC League of Legends into Wild Rift and, help people out. Help people that maybe don't really, understand MOBAs that well, or don't really understand, League of Legends or the champions that well. I can bring over my knowledge from PC League of Legends into Wild Rift. And, since then, I've kind of really enjoyed Wild Rift, to be fair. It's a bit more faster paced than PC League. It's a bit easier as well, because I'm not the best on PC League. I hear about Diamond, but no, ever since then, I've been playing mobile games since then. It's kind of gone from there, really, to be fair. And then I did my own YouTube. I did my own educational content, played with a few other people, and started climbing the ranks. And I hit Challenger as well a few times. So yeah, it's pretty much gone from there, really.
Gotcha. That's kind of similar to me. I think I played League of Legends for at least 10 years now. I wasn't that good in it. I spent a lot more time playing World of Warcraft than anything. So coming over to MOBAs, it's very mechanically inclined. If your mechanics aren't there, then really you're going to have some struggles in League of Legends specifically, because there's a lot of clicking to move, especially if you play AD carry.
For sure.
I peaked Gold 5 support there, but it was more like it's like exactly like you said, the knowledge that you take from there, you just shrink it down slightly and apply it to a smaller map, and you have the same thing. You can freeze waves, split push, slow push. Just knowing when to rotate is, I'd say, or your macro plays 90% of the game.
For sure, I agree.
Yeah, that's awesome. I used to make a lot of World of Warcraft parody music, so I started to do it with Wild Rift, and it's not good.
I'm sure it'd be pretty funny, but yeah, I mean, you compare like World of Warcraft to Wild Rift. It's like World of Warcraft, sometimes you just, you're standing there and you're just fighting and there's not really anything to do. But in League of Legends, you have to dodge, you have to make sure you're doing the right things at the right time and everything as well, and all that sort of stuff. So it's definitely a lot different in that aspect for sure.
Let's be fair. You don't have to dodge, and you don't have to make sure you're in the right place at the right time. Your teammates might be mad at you, but you don't have to do any of that.
True. You could just stand there the whole game and just, last hit and farm the whole game. Then you might be useful later on, but your team might not like you. So
See, I played jungle because I hate myself. So I just, everybody's criticisms just validate that hatred towards me. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, jungle is probably everyone's most hated role, I would say, because everyone just blames the jungler. It seems like whether it comes to League of Legends or Wild Rift, it's always been a classic meme where it's like, oh, jungle diff. I died in lane. It's a jungle diff, which is quite funny, to be fair.
I've died 4 times in the top lane. Yeah, it's why haven't you ganked for me?
Yeah, exactly.
When the enemy jungler shows up and it's a 2v2, we lose. That's why. Before, this wasn't a question on the list, but it popped up in my mind.
Yeah.
Something that a lot of people have problems with in the North American server is we saw this influx. A lot of people from South America migrate into Wild Rift from like Mobile Legends, Bang Bang, Arena of Valor, and all these other games. So we're having this influx of people who don't speak English. Do you have that problem over in the UK?
Some games, I would say that kind of is a problem. I mean, sometimes if you get more people from one country, you'd see that language is always spoken. But I think the main thing in Europe anyway is that most people from other countries always learn some type of English anyway at schools and things like that as well. And most of the people you come across does understand English, even if it might be to a very, slim margin. But sometimes you do get that situation where people don't talk English. Maybe it's like, you got 4 Spanish players in your lobby and you're the only English one. Maybe they talk Spanish with each other. Things like that. But when you communicate with them like in English, most of the time they do respond in English as well. So I wouldn't really say that there's a problem with that, but I can see what you mean with like South America and everything like that as well. It might be a bit crazy, because I know that over in America or North America, you lot have had problems with like matchmaking, with like sometimes you get really high pings and things like that as well when the game first came out.
Yeah, it's really weird. I actually was super excited for the game to first come out. Then it took too long to come out and I forgot about it. And then when I rediscovered, I was halfway through like the first season or something. I was like, crap. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily an issue that people don't speak English as long as they communicate through pings. I speak a little bit of Spanish, but like you said, most of the times I'm like, hey, no Spanish, or I don't speak Spanish. They'll be like, okay, bro, no problem. So, I mean, however it works for them, as long as they're playing well, I don't care.
Exactly. As long as they carry you, that's
exactly.
That's fine.
Exactly. So let me ask, are you are you excited about the future of the game? And if so, what do you look forward to the most?
I think anyone that speaks about Wild Rift at the moment is definitely very excited for the game. I mean, it hasn't even been a year since it's been released for like us in EU, and especially you guys in North America as well. I think it's been out for just over a year now for people over in Asia, like SEA and everything. But even so, I think the game is still early days. There's still a lot of champions to come out, a lot of features which hopefully they'll be adding, soon, like some hopefully some cool things, maybe some like on-screen stuff and everything like that as well. Obviously you got patch 2.5 which is coming out soon as well. But no, I mean, I'm excited, like most people, to be fair. I think at times you might feel like, or some people might feel like the game is kind of quote unquote dying, but you can't really say that, in my opinion, when like the game hasn't really fully launched yet, if that really makes sense, because it hasn't even been a year yet. In terms of what I'm most looking forward to, I would probably say the esports side of things. I think the esports side of things already has kicked off quite well, especially over here in Europe. There's a few like smaller competitions with prize monies which are done quite well. And with Origin Series as well, with the best team going over to the Horizon Cup, that did really, really well. I was actually able to like co-stream that as well and watch it with my community and everything. So that was really, really fun to do. I think that's the main thing is the esports side of things. Obviously, everyone's going to talk about, you know, more champions, new champions coming out, new features. But for me, it's esports. That's kind of what brings everyone together, is watching esports together, and you know, having that competitive sort of spirit between teams and between, you know, international tournaments as well. The classic NAEU rivalry, which has been heating up over the last few weeks. But no, for me, that's the one thing I'm definitely looking forward to.
I totally agree. Been interesting because NA is much better than EU, even though we struggle more. It's okay. Kind of reminds me when you see the smaller tournaments back when like League really first started. You had the ESLs, AEMs, where like
Yes,
Moscow 5 would just roll everybody.
That brings back some memories. That does. Alex Itch and everything as well, and Ocelot, and yeah, I remember them. I remember them days.
Still remember the game where Ginja played Urgot bottom, and they gave him blue buff to start out, and just who was Edward, I think at the time, was just roaming the map with Alistar and destroying everybody. They were such a good team. It's a shame what happened to them. Have you seen that documentary?
No, I haven't seen the documentary. No, what's it? What about Moscow 5? Was it?
Yeah, I think it's GBay99. He does a document about how the FBI destroyed the most dominant team in League of Legends. Moscow 5 was like a front for like some other type of shady business going on.
Really? God, I've never. That's the first time I've ever heard of it. To be fair, that's quite interesting.
Yes, I think it's about an hour. It's pretty good. Do you think you found your as a content creator?
I think I've still got a kind of a long way to go as a I feel like I'm still like starting up. I mean, I've been streaming on Twitch for about like 4 or 5 years, I would say. In my opinion, it's still learning every single day, you know, being, you know, playing games and being a content creator and things like that. So I feel like you've always got things to learn, things to, you know, do, and like your programs and things like that you have to, you know, out and everything like that. So I still feel like I definitely have a long way to go, even though it's kind of already, I guess you can call it, kicked off for me in a way.
You know, that's one thing that I found really interesting when I started doing it. To learn video editing, audio editing, I had to, if I wanted to stream, I would have had to get a PC with a capture card and all that stuff, because there's no good way to capture video on Twitch mobile. So there was so much that actually goes into it behind the scenes that you don't think about. This has given me a new appreciation for like YouTubers and streamers, to where I'm like, I don't want to sit through the ad, but it's, if you're putting in the time for the good quality content and it's not costing me money, I'll just let the ad play and some revenue that way.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, that I have a lot of friends that don't really understand like Twitch and, you know, things like that. People that sit down and watch streamers and everything like that. But the way that I look at it is like kind of like what sitting down and watching TV sort of thing. It's like kind of people's lives now, sitting down and watching Twitch. Like you wake up in the morning, you have a look and see who's streaming, you watch them, because like people who stream on Twitch and everything, the way that I look at it is like they're kind of doing it for free in a way, and then whatever you can do to help them helps them, you know, try and do it full time and try and, you know, make it a living for them, sort of thing. So I mean, I always encourage people to watch streamers and watch YouTube videos and things like that. Not even myself, just anyone really, because it all helps, and all feedback and everything helps everyone, like every single content creator, to become better and help them out in the same way as well. Because at the same time, you know, if you're watching Twitch or watching YouTube, you might be learning things yourself as well at the same time. Like it might be a certain build or a way to play or how to reach a certain rank or things like that as well. So it's always good to help out the content creators for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree. Really important to the game. If you didn't have anybody creating any additional content, then I'd imagine the game's going to become stale, or whatever topic you're talking about in general. So if you were to have more people making more content, yes, that brings in competition, but competition's always good. We see that in business. You know, competition typically drives lower prices for the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's a healthy market. at the same time. So for me, what I've found to be most interesting, I started my YouTube channel doing top 5 plays, kind of like Potato Monster. And then I really rediscovered my passion for music. I'd been rapping for like 20 years.
Damn.
Yeah, yeah. And then I come back into it, and I found that passion that I had lost, So
Yeah, it's pretty good, to be fair. I mean, that's the thing with gaming. It brings everyone together, and it allows you to create new things and content and things like that as well. And sometimes it brings back memories as well. I think that's the cool thing about gaming as well, is that you might remember things and do things that you used to do, or people you used to play with or used to talk to, that when a new game comes out or something like that, you can kind of rediscover that friendship, or rediscover, like you said, the passion for rapping that you used to have.
Yeah, you're 100% right. When we start talking about, most of us who play games have been gaming since we were kids. And maybe we spend a little bit more time inside on the internet and all that stuff, but we develop friendships with people that we've met all over the world that we've never even seen in person. But, you'd spend 8 to 10 hours with them grinding something out in a game. So sometimes, you got to log back in, you got to purchase a Activision, or not Activision, a Blizzard Pass, or whatever they call it now, a WoW token, just so you can log in WoW and run around Orgrimmar or something. So what do you think the game is going to look like a year from now?
It's a tough one. I'm hoping that they bring some more features to the game. I mean, it could be like very, very small features. I know other games have things like a content creator tab sort of thing, where you can watch videos from inside the app or watch streams from inside the game as well, which would be kind of cool.
That's a good point.
Which I think most people do want. I think a year from now, I would think that maybe all of the League of Legends champions would be on Wild Rift, because I think they're trying to schedule 2 a month at the moment, which is looking at, okay, maybe not. That's like an extra 24. Okay, maybe not a year from now, maybe a lot longer than a year from now. But I think there'll definitely be a lot more champions in the game, which can be a good thing, but also could be a bad thing at the same time. I think that's kind of what the PC version kind of has at the moment, is that they have so many champions and so much to balance in, every 2 weeks and everything like that, which is a good thing, because loads of people can play loads of different champions and metas come up and things like that. But I think that's one good thing about Wild Rift, is it kind of brings a bit of nostalgia for me for when I used to play League of Legends, and there used to be only a few champions, only a few items. It wasn't really as complicated as what it is now, with all the champions that are coming out for PC League, like Vex, who just came out, and Viego, and all these crazy champions that have all these crazy passives and everything like that as well. A bit like Akshan as well, who came to Wild Rift. I think they will bring out more champions. And I think it'll be a bit crazy probably a year from now with all the new champions and everything. But I still think the game would be in a pretty good spot. Hopefully the esports scene grows as well. But I think the main thing is, a year from now, with all the champions that they could be releasing, it could get very, very wild indeed.
I agree. I do agree. I want to see more champions released. As a jungler, you don't really have that many AP options. I guess you have Fizz, but yeah, I don't know. I think Fizz is permaban. Evelyn, she seemed to not be as picked as much as she used to be. Nunu, but I've been spamming the crap out of Nunu. He's just super strong.
Also fun to play as well. I like playing Nunu.
Yeah, just run into him with a snowball.
Yeah, exactly. It's so fun.
I think I utilize his ultimate more as a zone control. So I'll try to put myself in between, like the whoever's on the front line for the enemy team and the back line, just so a zone control, so my team can pick off that front person. And if I die, that happens. But, hopefully at that point, we've done enough to win the team fight.
Yeah.
Thinking about something you said, the game, I still don't think it's released in India yet. So I think we're still in beta, aren't we?
Yeah, I think, because they're calling the Horizon Cup the Beta Worlds. So they're basically not calling it Worlds, because they're still in beta and it's not like the full release yet. But they said like next year is going to be like the first full season of Worlds, which means like probably more qualifiers, and hopefully, as you mentioned, the India launch as well, because I know a few people from India that I talk to, and they have to play on try and play on EU servers and everything like that as well, which can be a bit tough don't really know the whole reasoning behind them not releasing in India yet. There's probably some reasoning behind it, but they've never mentioned it at all. But I mean, that's hopefully one thing, you know, a year from now, that hopefully it is released all around the world and it will have its full launch and everything. And as mentioned, hopefully some more features and everything will be added as well, which would be quite nice.
Yeah, it'll definitely be nice to see a different influx of people into the community. Um, I actually have a lot of Indian customers where I work at Pepsi, and you know, a lot of them are gamers. So they're excited for this because we sit there and we talk about it all the time. What annoys you the most when it comes to this video game?
I don't really like to be negative, to be fair. But I guess one thing at the moment, which they're looking to fix next patch anyway, so it might not be a problem for very long, is currently the matchmaking over in EU. I'm not really too sure how it is over in North America at the moment, but sometimes the matchmaking is a little bit wild and it can be a bit all over the place. There's been multiple content creators that have spoken about this already, and multiple high low people in EU that have spoken to, you know, writers about matchmaking and everything like that as well. And there's even some situations where, like, my quote unquote main account at the moment, my account that I use for, you know, have all the skins on everything like that, I actually can't find any games on there at the moment because like the matchmaking is just bugged out at the moment, which is quite frustrating. So I'm kind of playing on my Smurf slash second account, you can call it, which is a bit annoying because you spend all that money on skins and everything and you can't really find any ranked games. So hopefully that does get fixed next patch. They have said that matchmaking is going to be, you know, rebuilt and everything in patch 2.5. So hopefully that's one thing that's fixed. But I mean, other than that, there's not really a lot, to be fair. Maybe toxicity and things like that could be a thing as well, like AFKs and things like that. I think again they're working towards trying to fix that and trying to punish them a little bit more, which they've done already. Need to hit the nail on the coffin with that one as well.
I think is probably the most annoying part of it, and I get it because you get tilted, you just rage quit. It happens. That's something that I'm used to. However, I've never liked the idea that someone going AFK can cost the whole team their LP. I think if we were to reduce that or remove it, maybe give that person a or an honor thing or whatever, where, or the crystal where it doesn't take away the LP if you lose.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah,
the karma one. I would like to see something like that, just where you're not necessarily punished for someone else's gameplay.
yeah.
But I mean, legitimately, things happen. Internet goes out. You know, you lose connection. Your phone dies. Hopefully, not while you're playing, but.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with mobile is that even though people might go AFK or might just like randomly disconnect, is that people, the way that people have to think about it is people might be playing it out and about. They might be playing it on the train. They might be playing it, you know, at someone else's, you know, house or whatever or anything like that. And sometimes like the mobile network might just die and things like that. And I think that's probably the thing that they're struggling with the most, is finding out who are the ones that are actually AFK and rage quitting on purpose and who are the ones that actually have problems. You know, even things like people might not even have two phones. They might even have like a emergency phone call that they have to, you know, pick up and things like that as well. So there's so many different things you have to think about with a mobile game, which are completely different. Say, to example, from PC League, because PC League is like, you know, if you do actually quit the game, you are most of the time quitting it on purpose, unless you get you know, an internet cut out or anything like that. But mobile's a whole different game. It could be an important text, important phone call, app thing that might be happening or something like that. So there's a whole different way of looking at it compared to PC.
That's actually something interesting that I didn't think about, because I don't know how it is in Europe, but most of us don't just hop on the train and go places over here. So, you know, one day you're just playing on the train. Next thing you know, you're going through a tunnel and you just lose all cell service. I've never even thought about anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with anything really. If you're in playing it on the car or something, you might be going through like a desert or something crazy like that. I don't know. There'll be no deserts here, but like you go through an area that does, you go through an area that doesn't have any internet connection, you cut out, and then you're gone for like 5 minutes, and you come back again. There's loads of things you have to think about when it comes to mobile gaming, which I didn't even realize before. Like I said before, Wild Rift, I never actually played any mobile games before, so coming over from PC League, it is a bit different, but they're kind of the things you have to think about when people might be AFK in your team.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. I appreciate you bringing that up. That definitely makes me look at things differently. That'll give me an avenue to explore later on in a future episode. If you had to play one champion for the rest of your life, who would it be, and why would you pick them?
Probably say Jhin, if I'm totally honest, because that was kind of my first champion that I actually started playing on, not on PC League really, because I started a long time ago, but when Jhin first came out, I really enjoyed him. The first champion that I played on Wild Rift as well. I think just his champion design and his skins and everything as well, really, really cool. But another honorable mention is Xayah as well. Xayah is also a very fun champion that I like playing, probably my favorite at the current time, because apparently, currently Jin's not really as good at the moment, so it's kind of hard to play him. But it's hard to pick one, to be honest. I mean, you also got another AD carry that people might have not really heard about before, Aphelios on PC League. I do like playing him as well, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that he will be coming out soon, because he's one of my favorites to play on PC League. So it's hard to really pick one out of them, really, to be honest. I think it's hard to pick one champion, but if I was to pick one, it would probably be Jhin. But then I'd kind of feel sad because then I can't play champions like Xayah or even champions like Varus or anything like that anymore. So bit of a hard one.
Whatever you do not listen to the last episode, because I crapped all over Jhin. So just don't listen to it.
I mean, Jin's pretty hard at the moment. Like I said, I mean, when I make my tier lists and things like that, Jin's always down the bottom at the moment because of how many nerfs he's got. The items that he used to build got nerfed as well, and he's kind of in a rough spot at the moment. But fingers crossed he gets buffed in 2.5. Fingers crossed.
The reason that I crap on him isn't that he's not a good champion. He's just so stylistically different from all the other AD characters.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
You really have to know what you're doing. It's difficult as Drake. Catching axes in a team fight is extremely difficult when you're trying to dodge everything. So when it comes to your newer players, put them on the plug and play. The Jinxes, the Ashes, the like you said, the Xayahs, especially after that attack damage buff. I'd imagine she's doing a lot more damage.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So
I totally agree with you. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, Jhin, with like his whole reload mechanic and things like that, you have to always be careful when you're landing that force shot, because even though it does do a lot of damage, it does take a long time to reload, and then you don't have as much damage per second as, say, like Xayah, for example, who can just keep auto attacking and keep using them feathers all the time. Whereas Jhin, you have to know when to use your shots at the right time, and then when you reload, you have to peel back. And it's very different play styles, I think, with all AD carries, really, to be honest. I mean, another one, Varus, you have to kind of stay back and use his crowd control and his poke. He's not really like an auto attack really champion, so. But I mean, that's healthy for the game anyway. If different champions have different play styles and you've got different people playing them at the same time as well, it's always healthy for the game, because different people might be better on different champions and everything like that as well.
Now that I'm thinking about it, the map's shorter, so I don't think Jhin is as safe when he uses his ultimate as he might be on PC League, just because you have the existence of these hyper mobile champions like Rakan that could get in there and interrupt it, or Zed that could get back there and just pop him as he's sitting still in his ultimate. I don't know.
I agree. I agree for sure. Yeah.
If I had to pick a champ, I'm ADD. I could never pick a character to play for all the time. A champion to play on League of Legends. I couldn't pick which role I wanted to play in. I would start doing good, and then I'd get bored and switch to something else. For me, though, it'd probably be Lee Sin, just because you can play him almost everywhere except for AD carry. I've seen great support Lee Sins. So.
Something different. So different.
It's just that damage, that early damage, and that ability to just crowd control people with the kick.
Yeah.
And I will say it is so, I'm a boomer. I'm 31. I'll be 32 this year. So my mechanics are terrible from what they used to be. And I am happy the way they have him set up on Wild Rift, because ward hopping is something that's extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So that being able to safeguard behind somebody and kick them, so much easier.
Yeah, I think well, what I mentioned before really is that definitely Wild Rift is, even though like you said, it's a smaller map, that they have redesigned some of the champions and changed a few things to make it easier, because they probably realized that people on mobile might not have crazy mechanics, or it's a bit harder because you don't have a mouse and a keyboard to press all these different buttons and be very precise, because on mobile you just got a movement button and an attack button, and that's pretty much it. You have a few other buttons here and there for your skills, but they definitely have changed a few things. And I think, like you said, the Lee Sin jump, which can be annoying at times because he can dash around pretty much anywhere he wants to at any time and do some crazy stuff. I mean, I've seen some crazy plays with Lee Sin, but yeah, Lee Sin support is definitely a new one. I haven't heard of that one before, but maybe I might see it in some of my games soon. Who knows?
After this, we'll get a VPN. I'll queue with you.
That'd be fun.
So I guess moving on from that, there's a lot of things. The world's kind of in a crazy place right now with COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you find brings you happiness? This could be something in the games. It could be something in real life. What truly brings you happiness that keeps you moving forward day to day?
In life, I've always been a very, I guess you can call it, selfless person. I've always kind of focused on making others happy, which kind of make me happy at the same time as well, which is kind of why I started like content creation and educational content and things like that as well. When people come into my Twitch chat or comment on my YouTube and things like that and say like, oh, your video helped me reach this rank, or oh, you've helped me do this, or thank you very much, and things like that, that always brings a smile to my face, sort of thing. I don't really focus on myself a lot, which obviously can be a bit of a downside at times as well. But as long as I'm making other people happy and I'm making other people smile and helping people improve and things like that, that's kind of what makes me happy. And I've always been like that as well throughout the whole of my life. Yeah,
I'm very similar. You can almost say it's a detriment with how much I guess I'm a people pleaser. Lately, I've been a little bit more focused on myself, but when you get, I intentionally started my YouTube channel to kind of highlight plays from Reddit. Just like asking people, hey, can I use this in the top 5 clip? If I narrate it, break it down, slow down the team fight and all that stuff. And a lot of times people are happy to see that you or someone took an extra minute to say, oh, that was really cool, or thank you, or someone took my video or something that I thought was really cool and agreed with it and built upon that.
Yeah, like someone acknowledges you, sort of thing, and like recognizes you in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you grow that. That's how you grow that community. I guess as humans, we're typically a little bit more selfish. So when you give back from a place of like, hey, I want nothing in return, you build a stronger bond with people and you start to build a community that might not have been there before. And at the same time, I'm thinking more of a business mindset. Like, hey, if I can grow this YouTube to a certain amount, I can start monetizing it and then all that stuff, which allows me to move away from necessarily maybe my day job, into highlighting more and giving back to the community more. And if they win and I win, then it's a great situation for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. It's always nice at times to recognize other people and like you said, give back as well, because sometimes all things, and like you said with COVID and that as well, like some things all might seem doom and gloom and things like that, but there still are good people out there, and there's still some light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely. So what are some of the unique challenges that you've had to overcome in your path to being a creator?
I think the main thing is kind of learning all the different programs and everything that you that you have to use to kind of like edit your videos, make thumbnails, things like that as well. And to be honest, I still haven't mastered it. I think it's like I've said before, I've still got quite a long way to go. I feel like as a content creator, loads of things still to learn about content creation, being a content creator. But when I first started up with like Photoshop and Premiere Pro and programs like that, I'm like, what the hell is all these buttons? What does this do? What does this do? Which kind of took a bit of time, to be fair, to get used to and kind of understand and everything. It's like when you export a video, like what's bit rate and what's this, and all these numbers and everything, and what you have to understand. It can be a bit confusing at times, but when you watch a few videos and everything like that, which is why YouTube's such a great thing, you can watch videos that people always explain stuff all the time. It might not even be to do with gaming all the time. It could be something simple, like maybe how to cook food or something like that. YouTube's always there to help you out. But yeah, I think the main thing for me was all the programs that I needed to learn and everything, and being kind of committed as well, because being a content creator is not easy for sure. Like you have to kind of dedicate a lot of time and a lot of days to making videos and coming up with content and things like that as well. So yeah, I think they're the main things.
That was part of what was difficult for me, was learning. So I knew Photoshop because I always did Photoshop. Like I used to do Sony Vegas a lot, Cool Edit Pro back in the day for recording audio. So it was just like jumping from technology of 15 years ago to technology of today, which it's a lot easier in a sense, but you still have to relearn it.
Yeah.
The other part that was tricky for me was actually learning how to monitor my analytics on YouTube, which videos are doing better, why would they be doing better, starting to look at other creators, whether it be video games or somebody like Uncle Roger who does the rice cooking.
Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah, I watch him quite a lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a funny one.
What do they do differently? Do they see something, or obviously their content's different, but look at when you start looking at, okay, how did they edit this video? How do they move the B-roll in? Just all this, even Pro Guides, for example. Pro Guides does phenomenal video editing. So looking at what they do and how can I adapt that to my style, and learning that, as well as like getting TubeBuddy and just working on my retention rate, learning that, hey, I need to break the video or the visual up so that it's not just paint drying on a wall. It's other things to engage people, to keep them watching the video. There's so much, like I said, back end that you don't know until you start doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sometimes you can, you can always just start off by doing things simple and everything like that whilst you're learning everything. But I think the main thing in this day and age is that so many things are like influenced off social media and trends and things like that as well. It's like, if something was to like, if you was to put I don't know, like a tweet or even TikTok nowadays, which is blowing up as well. Like if you used to put one thing out there that was to completely blow up and you was to start a trend and everything, that kind of kickstarts, your whole content creation, or even anything, to be fair, it can kickstart your whole career in a way. It's just one little thing that can make a big difference. If it's something as simple as, I don't know, like a dance or something like that, or or a tweet or something, or even memes as well, which are quite popular nowadays. But anything that you can kind of get trending, that you can kind of put out there, that kind of pops off sort of thing, and then that kind of kickstarts, and then you can kind of grow your career from there and grow your audience and your community from there, really.
With that being said, what do you think plays more into it, quality or quantity? If you're putting out a lot of different lower quality videos, like you said, or tweets or whatever, you never know what's going to hit and take off. Or do you think the slower route of quality would be better in the long run? When we start talking about people like Jordan Peterson, he says anything worthwhile isn't typically expedient. So it takes I guess it takes a while. I think I would rather put out something better quality than lower quality and a bunch of it.
Yeah, I think they both work hand in hand with each other. I think nowadays, and specifically talking about YouTube and Wild Rift, is very dependent on who brings out the video first, who is the first person to make a video, and that kind of then springs into action. It's like who's searching for the video and things like that. You know, when a new champion comes out, for example, I'm going to name a few people, which I'm really close friends with, who are also content creators. Hell's Devil, Darkbreaker, Excoundrel, people like that. You know, even though we're all kind of, I guess you can say competing. I guess you can say, I don't really like that word, but I guess you could say competing. I think the main thing is it's like who is going to be the first person to bring out like the champion guys, which sometimes might not be, like you said, it might not be like the quality might not be good, or the breakdown of things like that might not be good, but when people are searching for that champion, like when it hits midnight or when it hits whatever time the champion comes out, people are going to be searching on YouTube when it comes out. They're going to be like, okay, what's the best build? You know, what's the best loadout? How do I play this champion? What are the skills and things like that? And people don't really, you know, I'll be totally honest, most people don't really look at the game itself. They don't really read through all the description and things like that. People like to actually watch videos. They learn more from watching videos than actually, you know, reading and things like that as well. I think that's a big thing that kind of sways more into quantity over quality. But I don't really believe in, you know, like you said, like bringing out something that might be worse and you could put in a little bit more time to bring out a better quality video. I don't think it's ever good to bring out something that's bad quality. But in terms of getting out there and being the first person to do, you know, certain content and things like that, sometimes us in the EU, like I know Hell's Devil, for example, he stays up quite late to do like videos and things like that. So sometimes it can work well for you. But you still have to have the quality there as well at the same time. You still have to do your research about the champion and understand what you're talking about and things at the same time.
That is one beautiful thing about playing League of Legends for so long is you have that knowledge of the champions. So when it comes over, it's like, okay, what are the little bit differences? And then I can just go on this, you know, rest of this knowledge that I have. So you would say picking a good middle ground is
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For me, I started making the videos and then I realized, you know, there's a lot of people that make video content, and I personally listen to podcasts all day because I work out in the field, like in convenience stores and all that stuff. So I'm not in an office where a boss is constantly watching over me. So I'll say I consume like 20 to 25 hours of podcasts a week.
Damn.
So I started searching for it. I couldn't find anything. And then I was like, cool, I'm going to start one. Not knowing what I was doing, not understanding any of it. I didn't have any background in, you know, podcasting, like digital media production. And then so that led me to the idea of like kind of like the YouTube channel. Like I started it before, but I didn't really know what I was doing. So I did a lot of research. One group that I came across was Think Media, and they say don't wait until you're ready to start. Start yesterday. Post whatever you have. Post the bad videos. This way you can learn, look back, and grow from there.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody out there is listening that wants to start, start today. It doesn't have to be great. It probably won't be great, but it'll be awesome to see your growth in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year from now.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think that's exactly the same with content creation as well. As loads of people come up to me and say like, "Oh, you know, what should I do? Where do I start?" Sort of thing. You know, it starts from, you know, you doing it. Like you have to learn. You have to, you know, do things that sometimes you might have to take a risk and things like that as well. But I think one thing that you pointed out as well is like being different is also very, very good as well. Like, you know, sometimes people don't want to watch the same content over and over again, sort of thing. Being different is quite important as well, because if you can bring something new to the table that people haven't done before, then people, you know, new people will come and watch you for your content, sort of thing. But No, I think the main thing for content creation is yeah, like you said, just to just start today. You know, don't doubt it, don't think about it in your mind or anything like that. You know, if you have the, obviously it's hard sometimes, you might not have the right equipment, but if you do have the right equipment and the right programs and everything, you know, it's always best to start off straight away, because as you said, you know, even if you put out something little, you know, someone might watch it and then they share it and then they might share it to someone else and things like that as well. So it's always like an ongoing like cycle sort of thing that might help you out in the long run.
Absolutely. And especially if you go the YouTube route, my most viewed video is a short. It's a Ezreal short, and it's got like 924 views. So I never expected that to blow up the way it did. But behind that, it's one of my top 5 series. It did like 165, and I was so happy. I was so happy when I got my first sub, and then like I plateaued at 9, and I was just sitting there so distraught. I'm like, man, all this work for nothing. Because, you know, even though it might not be the most polished, it's still a lot of work that goes into it
Yeah,
because you're
for
learning.
sure. Yeah,
And then I got hit 10, and I called my buddy. I was like, we did it.
yeah.
And then we're sitting at 25 now, but I haven't really done too much with it as opposed to venturing off, because I haven't really felt like it's my calling or my niche. I'm not as good as I want to be, but I don't know if
Yeah.
that means me giving up, or if maybe taking a different route.
Yeah, I think motivation is a big thing as well, that people need to find as well, especially with content creation, is that if you have the motivation there, and if you can, you know, have a reasoning for getting up in the morning and doing videos and recording and things like that, I think that's always a big thing as well. I mean, funny story about me, actually. I actually did I've had multiple YouTube channels in my life, very very funny ones as well. I actually started a YouTube channel a long time ago now, where me and a friend, I was just sitting on my laptop. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a computer at the time. I just had a crappy old laptop, and me and my friend, this will tell you how long ago it was. Me and my best friend played Call of Duty World at War custom zombie maps, and I mean, it kind of, you know, it did. I kind of gutted that I didn't actually go forward with that, to be fair, because we were actually doing really well. We were just like doing kind of reviews on every single map with custom zombies and things like that, and that was on like a terrible like the I look back at it and I'm like, what am I doing? Like the sound quality was terrible, the video quality was terrible, like, everything about it was terrible. But at the time, you know, it was fun, and I think that's one thing as well. It's like, as long as you're having fun with what you're doing, you know, and you do what you need to do to, you know, kind of share the content, get people watching it, you know, have a reason for people watching it as well. I think that's a big thing as well. But that's one funny story that people might not know about me. So that's kind of where my YouTube career kind of started.
It's Stuart, the Call of Duty player.
Yeah, I
You know,
still do play Call of Duty to this day as well. So always
it's
been a game in my heart.
it's interesting, right? Because, you know, I'd imagine, as an artist yourself, you probably have this thing where you look back on the work that you've done. You're like, oh God, it was terrible. It was terrible. It's stupid. I hate that. I messed that part up. But at some point, you have to be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to post it. Um, so when you look back on your old content, you know, we're looking back through time. So we have this. So back in the day, your Call of Duty video might not have been terrible for the time. Um,
Yeah.
with my older music, I listen back and like, God, I would do this so much differently if I did it today. Um, and that's just the fact that I've had more time to perfect it over the years, or the technology is so much better.
Yeah, I think that's a crazy thing as well, as the technology has gone so fast, like so quickly. Like I'm 25 now, and it's crazy how much, like, I think I might have done the Call of Duty videos like 10 years ago or something, and seeing how crazy everything is now, and how, you know, even mobile gaming, for example, I've never have imagined playing a mobile game, you know, 10 years ago when I first started, you know, doing YouTube and I started doing Twitch and everything like that. I used to play on my PC all the time, and now I'm here, you know, playing mobile games and making content off of mobile games, which kind of feels a bit surreal to me, but it's, you know, it's kind of cool at the same time. It shows you how far, you know, mobile games come over the years.
That is actually something that my best friend and I talked about, because I told him mobile gaming is the future of technology. Just for the fact that you see, like, look at Nintendo move. Nintendo's always been great with Game Boys, the handheld technology. It did so well that you saw PlayStation try to do it. All the other companies try to do it. Not necessarily so successful, but then you see less intense requirements for a phone, and you have to have in modern day world, you have to have a phone anyway.
Yeah.
Even in a quote unquote third world country, you still pretty much required to have a cell phone. And just the fact that you can play games on it now, just it goes literally hand in hand. And I was telling him this because I don't know if he doesn't believe me. I just see the way that mobile games have progressed over the years. You know, you went from that Candy Crush crap to Wild Rift, Call of Duty Mobile, all these
Yeah.
actual really good games that are easy to access. It gives more access to people across the world. He actually ran across a video, and it was like the most downloaded and played game that you've never heard about. And it was actually Arena of Valor.
Damn.
Yeah, it was like 100 million downloads or plays, accounts, or something like that. So I think at that point he started to realize that I was right, of course. So Paul, if you're listening, I'm always right.
I mean, another point of that as well, as I jamble on as I do, the new Steam thing as well that they've got coming out as well. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but it's a handheld device where you can play any Steam game on handheld. A bit like, kind of, I guess you could say, like the Nintendo Switch, but obviously the Steam library has so many games. It's absolutely ridiculous. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called, but I mean, it just shows that companies are looking more towards, you know, handheld and devices which allow you to go wherever you want and play wherever you want, more than just, you know, sitting at home and playing games now, which is crazy to think about. If you think about, you know, like you said, like, you know, all them years ago when it used to be like, you know, PS1, PS2s and things like that as well. You had like the odd handheld here and there with like Game Boy, but now it seems like all countries, all companies are, you know, moving more towards, you know, handheld and more mobile devices.
Absolutely. And like the fact that you can now play all those games on PC through ROMs, insane. Do you ever watch like speed running?
I watch here and there, like they have like the yearly competition thing. I can't remember for the life of me what it's called on Twitch.
AGDQ, awesome games done quickly.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I watch that from time to time, but I only really watch games that I've really played before in the past and things like that. But I watch it from time to time.
Yep. And I don't dive too much into it, but sometimes it'll be interesting to see how they break the game. And you look at this old style, it's like they'd be playing like Super Mario on Nintendo 64, and it'd be a
Oh yeah.
camera VHS recording the screen, and they would mail it in, and they'd post it on the thing after a review, to the fact that now you can live stream it, and you can have these timers that'll tell you you're 2 seconds off the world record. It's just phenomenally mind-blowing, going from this old analog, like analog style, to this highly updated digital world. It's amazing what technology is doing for the gaming community.
It's pretty surreal that we have things like, you know, Twitch and people spend, you know, all their lives on now, really, you know, streaming and watching, and it's pretty surreal to think about, to be fair, when you think about it.
I think with the pandemic, I think YouTube and Twitch exploded significantly in the amount of content being consumed because everybody's locked inside.
Yeah, I think that's another big thing as well. I mean, I think even before that as well, I think it was still, you know, huge, but I think the pandemic definitely, you know, I guess made people realize as well. And it's like the whole thing with, like, you know, working from home and things like that, and, you know, what technology can do to, you know, when things like, you know, crazy things like this does happen, that technology can actually help us out, you know, work from home or, you know, do stuff at home and everything like that as well. It's kind of crazy to think about, actually. It's really, really crazy.
Yeah. What's it sucks because at work I can't really work from home because I have to like deal with customers all day.
Obviously some works you can't physically, like if you're working in a shop or something like that. But I think like some like work companies and everything realize that not everyone needs to travel into work and, you know, work in an office all the time. You know, people can actually work from home, and there's a technology now where you can communicate with people from all around the world, and you don't even need to be in an office, or you don't need to travel there anymore, sort of thing.
Absolutely. I can work from home. It's just going to be very bad. So GPS knows where I'm at. Moving on from that, I guess we'll skip a couple questions because we're coming up on an hour. What do you think is the best moment that you've ever had in the game?
Wow. I think everyone loves a comeback, to be fair. I think comeback's the most satisfying thing about a game, and especially a MOBA like League of Legends, which makes it kind of unique really to other games. I guess you can kind of say the same with like football or soccer or whatever you want to call it and things like that as well. But I think, you know, coming back from being behind and being down and out and seeing your team like kind of giving up, and then you coming back and you like, you know, kind of putting everything aside and being able to group up and, you know, come back and actually win from like sometimes I've come back from like 10,000 goal deficits and things like that. That's probably the I think I would say probably the best, you know, moment from the game for sure.
My answer was going to be different, but I think I'm going to go with your answer because that's much. The best ones are when like the enemy team's like, "Oh, you suck, don't you?" And then like 10, 15 minutes later, after you decided to stick it out, you're just like, "Oh, you guys suck, don't you?" How do those
kind of karma bites you in the arse sort of thing, you know? Yeah,
absolutely.
I know what you mean.
What champion do you want to see come to the game next, or champions? I guess three. Pick three.
Yeah, I mentioned Aphelios before. For quick story, actually, I know I keep talking on, but I actually used to be a support main back in PC League. I was actually always a support main, but I kind of transitioned into AD carry because obviously the game was a bit easier and things like that. But I've always played like bot lane AD carry / support sort of thing. I'd really like Nautilus to come to the game as a support. I think he brings quite a lot to the game and could be really nice, especially with all these enchanters at the moment that are really, really strong. And for AD carry, as mentioned, Aphelios is a very unique champion that doesn't really have skills. It's more based on what weapons he chooses at the right time, which is a very, very unique playstyle, but a playstyle that I quite enjoy playing.
Play a lot of Nautilus mid lane. Back before
Love it.
UNB.
Love it.
So prevalent in League of Legends. As far as Aphelios, I could never figure out how to use him. I tried, and it's just so complicated for my old brain. But you know, in a way he's very different, but he still plays very similar to your just attack damage carries, where you're clicking or you're pressing the button to do most of your damage as opposed to lining up skill shots and all that stuff. So after knowing how Riot likes to release champions into this game brand, I would hate to see what Aphelios is ultimate will do.
Yeah, it's quite cool actually that they've got like some changes and everything they make from PC League into Wild Rift. I mean, at the current time, the quote unquote leaked champions at the moment that are coming out, which could be kind of interesting, is Caitlyn, Jace, and I can't think of the third one off the top of my head, Veigar. Because of the new Arcane event, there was some people that like data mined into Wild Rift and kind of came up with them leaks and everything like that from pictures and everything that they saw. So that could be quite interesting. We have to wait for 2.5 for that one. But I mean, yeah, at the moment they're currently like bringing out 2 champions every month, which I think is a pretty decent amount, to be fair. You don't want to bring out too many champions at the same time because otherwise it gets a bit too overboard and everything. But I think 2 champions a month, and depending on what they are, it could be good for the game, or it could be, really, really bad for the game if they're completely broken, as you said.
Since you're an 80 carry main, obviously you know what Caitlyn does in League of Legends. She's known as a lane bully, early range. Do you want to describe to the newer players who don't know about her, like what you find, or how you think she's going to play? Do you think she's going to come in and take over? Do you think she's going to be a dud when she comes? What do you think?
I think the main thing at the moment is it depends on the items. I think some champions at the moment are not really too strong because the right items are not even in the game at the moment, and some items are a little bit different. But I mean, for Caitlyn, she has like the longest range out of any AD carry in the game or in PC League, but it will be the same in Wild Rift as well, which makes it so then she can, she can play safe in lane, or she can, like you said, be a complete lane bully and just keep auto attacking all the time, especially, during team fights and things like that. You can kind of sit back and, auto attack all the time. And she's more focused on them auto attacks, not really them, them abilities. So items like Solari Charge Blade, which is probably the most popular AD carry item at the moment, with like these more, AD carries that like to use their spells, wouldn't really work too well. So I don't know if Caitlyn will be good or not. It's really, really hard to tell with new champions. I mean, I always like to predict if a champion's going to be good or not, but I think it all just depends, on their scaling and what damage they're going to do. And you always have to test stuff beforehand. But I think should be quite good for the meta, because she'll bring a different play style to other champions. Because at the moment you're seeing in all these hyper carry late game scaling champions, but with Caitlyn, you can be that lane bully and you can bully out champions, like Kai'Sa, like Vayne, like Jinx, who like to scale into the late game. So it could bring definitely something a bit different to the table.
I think with her, it's really interesting because when you at the lower levels, her Q, or her first ability, Piltover Peacemakers, is extremely strong for poking out, but then it just does no damage later compared to her auto attacks. She's one that her skills in the later game do less damage, so it's less beneficial to use them. But her traps provide so much zone control.
I can imagine. Yeah, I didn't even think about that, to be fair. Yeah, thinking about like dragons and everything and Rift Heralds, like what's so important at the moment in Wild Rift is all in team fights. Like if you can put a few traps around the dragon and everything as someone walks into it, and then you use the passive to get that headshot and do that crit damage. Oh, that could actually be pretty disgusting.
Yeah,
that could actually be pretty crazy.
I think she's going to do great when she first launches. If you had any advice that you would give to a newer player just starting the game, what would it be?
If you're just starting Wild Rift, I think the main thing to note is, kind of watch videos. I guess in a way was the biggest advice that I would give, which is kind of what I did when I first started playing League of Legends, like a long, long time ago. There wasn't really a lot of content back then, but I kind of had to make do with what videos were available at the time. I think watching videos is really important. Obviously, myself, and there's loads of other content creators out there that can help you out if you want to learn like a certain role or a certain champion and things like that as well. I think always playing with friends is important as well. It's always nice to play with a friend that knows how to play the game, that can teach you along the way as well. That's what I did when I first started PC League of Legends. I played with a few other friends that I played the game for already like a year or so, and they kind of brought me into the game. They say like, look, I still remember this story actually. They were like, look, you need to play this game. I was like, no, I'm not playing it. This looks terrible. This game looks trash, everything like that. And I played the game and I got addicted for the next, 8-9 years. So, it always can be daunting at times, like learn a new game and kind of learn about, because there's so many things to League of Legends that people don't really know. But watch videos, play with people that know how to play, and play, they might even not know how to play, play with, people that you enjoy playing with, and, just have fun. And then from there, you'll probably get addicted like everyone else playing League of Legends.
To be fair, your analysis was right. The game did look like crap back then.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. They probably look good, like you said, at its time. Like same with like videos and things like that. Probably look good for its time.
There are people like me out there saying, how do you find friends to play this game with? So, because I have fun. Moving on.
That's a bit dark.
This is a question, and it's not me. I didn't ask this question for myself, but I mean, I might be an emerald, but what is the secret to not being hard stuck emerald? And I'm just asking for a friend.
Get good. I think that's the main thing. I mean, on a more serious note, it is hard to, especially a game like Wild Rift, where most people I feel like have never really played a MOBA before, have never played, League of Legends, that sort of style before. They might have played Vainglory or Arena Valor or any of them games before. They might not have played League before. I think the main thing is just, stick to something that you're good at that rank. Champion tier lists and things like that don't really mean too much at that rank. I think the main thing is just like, focusing on yourself, making sure that you watch your own replays, you learn what you're good at and what you can kind of improve on as well. And playing champions that you're good at as well. There's no point, finding out that, I don't know, like maybe I said that, Varus is S+ tier, but you might be better on a champion that might be in C tier, for example. At that rank, the tier lists don't matter too much. Obviously, they do help out. But it's always better to play something that you're good at instead of playing something that you might not be as good at, but might be, higher up on the tier list. So I'll say that's the main thing. So obviously watch videos and things like that as well, and kind of, learn yourself. Always focus on yourself. That's one tip that I always, say to people. Don't focus on what anyone else is doing, focus on yourself, which is the main thing about any game, really.
Being an emerald as a jungler is I'm often pulled up more. I don't know if that's my MMR or if it's the lack of junglers in the game, but I'm often playing with diamond players. And at this point, my mechanics aren't nearly as good playing against someone who knows how to play at a higher level than I do. So I've resorted from playing Lee Sin to the Amumu to champions that are easier to play. But
easier to execute, sort of thing.
Exactly, until I understand how to play at a higher level.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like one thing that people might see these crazy plays or crazy clips of a champion. It's like, wow, I really want to do that. Take Lee Sin, for example, but then you actually play the champion, you're like, wait, it's actually not that easy to play the champion. So, you got to do your research on, on the champions and, what you're good at and things like that, and play, what you're comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, there's loads of people on PC League, for example. There's like people that have reached, Challenger with like Teemo only on PC League of Legends. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was to happen, again on PC League. I've seen people climb to Challenger just playing Master Yi with their match history. Things like that can happen. Sometimes it might be boring playing the same champion, but if you want to climb and if you're serious about it, then focus on who you're good at. It doesn't really matter about tier lists or anything like that. As long as you focus on what you're good at and you improve yourself, then the climb will come over time.
That's something I 100% agree with. And what is a major benefit or addition, I guess, moving towards that positive climb is being more comfortable with your champion. If you're spreading your games out over 30 different champions, for example, you're going to be less confident playing that matchup. Whereas if you know your champion hands down, you're like, okay, this is where my item spikes are. This is where my power spikes are. I can do this in this situation. You're going to be a lot more confident, and then you're going to be able to put that enemy on their back foot. And it's harder to lose a game from a winning position than it is to win a game from a losing position.
Yeah, I always say that as well. It's always better to play something even though you might not be in the best matchup. It's always better to play something you're good at than to try and play a counter to the enemy champion, but you might not be as strong as it. Like at the end of the day, you need to play what you're strong you're strong with, you know, what you're comfortable with, and even though you might be in a losing matchup, you will know the mechanics, and you will know, you know, the limits to your champion, so you know when to go in and when not to go in and things like that as well.
And absolutely, and that is something that's important if you do pick into that losing match because you're not necessarily comfortable playing that counter. Lose gracefully, don't feed, do your best to concede the lane. Yes, you're going to lose. Everybody knows this from the champion select. That's okay as long as you don't give up more resources than you have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I see it. Gracefully lose. Try not to give up the kills. Yeah, Will asked me last episode if you're playing a top laner against a longer range top laner like a Vayne or a Teemo, how do you win? You don't. You get pushed in. It's going to happen. You wait until later after you unlock some skills, become more tanky. Then you go in and work on trading. But in the beginning, it's okay to lose. It's okay to lose as long as you don't give up more resources. If your jungler constantly has to give you attention as opposed to going to the top lane matchup, that's going to be a winning matchup where we'll snowball the game. That's actually worse for your team as a whole. So lose, ping the jungler, hey, go top, go bottom. I'm going to lose this matchup, and then work on playing for the mid to late game.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Okay, going on to some prize questions, some questions that I didn't send over to you. Sorry.
I'm scared.
No, it's all good. I promise I won't lead you down a dark path. Doing some research, your most successful video has been your Challenger Top 20 Xayah video, and it's currently sitting at 14,000 views. What were your initial thoughts when it first caught traction and people actually started to pay attention and follow you?
I think the main thing with a game like League of Legends is people always want to watch the highest content. You know, they always want to watch someone that is good at the game. I think that's the main thing. You know, if you're not good at the game, you know, people might watch you in terms of like, you know, your entertainment and things like that. I think the main thing about that video when I first got into it was like, you know, you can climb the ladders quite easily in Wild Rift. I feel like climbing like the champion ladders, like in terms of champion like skill and, you know, the champion leaderboard, doesn't really, like, in my personal opinion anyway, it doesn't really say that you're especially like good with the champion, because you can kind of just, you know, get points over time. It doesn't show you like your win rates and things like that. But showing that you're like challenger and you're playing a champion and you're being in, you know, top 20 and things like that, I think that's the main thing. And the main thing that I do with my videos as well is I always like to break down why I do certain things and like kind of help people out at the same time as well as doing the video, you know, with the build and everything like that as well. So yeah, not only you getting, you know, the challenger gameplay sort of thing, which I think most people want to see. They want to see like the best and highest tier gameplay to see, you know, how these games are different to like my Emerald games, for example. And yeah, just you know, having someone like Xayah, who's obviously one of my favorite champions that I played a lot when she first came out, and reaching quite a high rank with her, you know, not only on the champion leaderboard, but also the ladder itself, like the ranked ladder itself. I thought, oh, it's actually a pretty good idea to kind of go over my thoughts about Xayah and how I can help other people reach the same rank with the same champion.
See, we want to look at the top tier plays, top tier players. Like I watch a lot of Outsider Wild Rift. He's really good. But if we started copying what the pros, not the pros, but, you know, the higher ranks do, it doesn't always translate into like gold or bronze or silver.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So what works in a higher rank may not work in the lower one. So at the same time, yes, we want to watch what they're doing, but you still got to, I would imagine, watch content where you're at. Like I said, Pro Guides does a lot of good videos on what champions are good for what elo. So that's interesting. No, I was going through your video and I wanted to compare the your most successful video versus your least popular video, which is your Wild Rift rundown, and it's sitting at 80 views. What do you think makes the big difference in the viewership? Do you think it was quality at the time? It's an older video. Do you think it's like you had subscribers at the time or less people paying attention, and eventually you got to the point where you had more subscribers, more people paying attention, so it was easier to use that as leverage to get higher viewership?
I mean, case of well is there's not actually a lot of Xayah gameplay out there on YouTube, and there's not really a lot of people that play Xayah. So when you obviously search up Xayah and everything, I think I might be wrong, but I might be like, I think I'm like one of the only people that actually put out like Xayah content. I think Xayah always does really, really well on my channel. Every time I put out Xayah content, it always does quite well, whether it's like an updated build guide or a breakdown video and things like that. Kind of, I guess people know me for Xayah now in a way, which it can also work in other people's favor as well. If you get good at a champion, if you find something that's strong with someone or something like that, then you can produce content with that as well, and it can work in the same way. The reason why I got so many views, I honestly don't really know, to be fair. It's a difficult one. YouTube's a very, very weird place. It's populated at the moment with loads of clickbait titles, crazy pop out thumbnails and things like that, which I don't really like to do most of the time, but I know a few other people that do that, and works in their way sometimes and things like that as well. I think at the time, because Xayah, I believe when I put out that video, Xayah only just came out quite recently. So at the time, I was one of the first people to reach Challenger and to get high in ranks with Xayah, which comes back to my point quite a while ago that I made in the podcast, which is like, if you can produce content first, it does help out as well, and has helped out in the past as well with other content creators and things like that. I go back to like Hell's Devil, for example, who's a very, very popular Wild Rift YouTuber. He always produces the content as soon as it comes out. As soon as it comes out, he stays awake because it's quite late normally in the EU. He stays awake. He does all his research. He does really, really well. And he's always one of the first people that puts out, a video about someone, and if you can do it correctly, and if you can put a video out before anyone else, like I said before, like people will search for that video. And I think that's kind of the way the Xayah video worked. People wanted to look at high challenger gameplay of a new champion that came out. They wanted to see, what build I'm going as like the top 20 Xayah player and challenger and things like that. And even though things like, the average view per minute and things like that, like the average percent of viewed and things like that is quite low on Wild Rift videos. I've actually found out quite recently with going through from with working with Excel and looking at my, my own videos and things like that. I think the main thing with views is like people want to look at like builds. They always want to look at builds. They want to know what's the best. They always look at, little things as well, like maybe you explain the builds, like why it's important, things like that. And it's always good to, go through your gameplay as well and explain, certain situations in the gameplay, because that's what most people want at the end of the day. People go onto YouTube, especially for Wild Rift, to learn. And, there are other things as well. You can look at highlights. I always watch Wild Rift highlights as well, which are quite fun. Like you said, top 5 plays, which are always really fun to watch. But I think most people go onto YouTube for Wild Rift to learn champions and learn how to play a champion. Like you said, sometimes it might not work in lower elos, but it can help out, because sometimes you might be going for a wrong build or something like that.
I completely, that's what I'm mainly looking for, is like what do people think is going to be the top tier next right now? What items are going to be the strongest? So, and it's really to learn, especially when I'm learning on honestly, everything that I look up on YouTube is to learn. So you might be 100% right. And as far as your average viewer duration, looking at like, what did my last video do bad that my current video did great? And that question actually segues pretty well into this one, because you brought it up. iTzSTU4RT, what did it mean to you when you got sponsored by them? Like, what, was it something that you had been looking at for a long time? Were you like, okay, XL, this is who I want to be sponsored by? Were you throwing out sales pitches to everywhere, and they're the ones that got back to you. But mainly, what did it mean to you? Was it like, okay, I am finally making treadway in this area?
Bit of a backstory behind that, I guess. Is that like ever since like Excel kind of gotten into like the LEC, the League of Legends Championship Series over in EU, like the PC competitive scene. I've always been a fan of them, I guess you can say. I've always like followed them. I traveled to Germany a few times to watch them in the LEC as well. I got to know the people and things like that, and everything like that. And I've been a fan from them for a while, but I never actually, when I first started doing YouTube for Wild Rift and things like that, I never expected myself and everything to kind of grow so quickly. And I don't think anyone ever plans it, to be honest. I mean, people always say, you probably hear this a lot from a lot of people, but you don't do content to then to make money. You don't do content to expect to join these organizations and things like that and everything. You do it for fun at the end of the day. And like I said, I mainly did it to help out other people because I had that knowledge of PC League of Legends, and I brought that into Wild Rift, and I was quite decent at PC League of Legends, and I obviously hit Challenger a few times on Wild Rift. So I thought that I can bring my knowledge over to from PC League of Legends over to Wild Rift. So obviously with that and with Excel and everything, it was just they wanted someone from the UK that made Wild Rift content and everything like that as well, and that's where I kind of came into it, sort of thing. And then then they contacted me and everything about it. We had a call and everything like that, and since then I've been making content on their YouTube channel and everything, and streaming for them and everything like that as well. So it kind of all came into play, really. I wasn't really planning it or anything like that. It wasn't really a plan for me. I don't think ever is for people, a plan to join an organization, or I wasn't really pitching to anyone or looking for anything or anything like that as well. It's kind of one of those situations where if you go out and if you get your content out there, people will start to recognize you and everything like that. So I think they're the main points. But for me, it's kind of a dream to join an organization and everything like that. I think it's a dream for any content creator to join any organization, but especially when you're an actual fan from an organization who's local as well, because their offices are not really too far from me. Like their offices in London, I live in London as well. So it's it's kind of surreal, thinking back and talking about it and everything like that as well. But yeah, that's kind of the short story behind that.
That's awesome, man. So it's like you followed them for a long time, and the stars happened to align in just the right way that now you're, I guess, working for them, private contracting for them. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah, it's just content creator for them. So I make YouTube videos for them. I stream, for them and everything like that as well. That's all it is. But yeah.
Do they also promote your videos? Is that how that works?
I mean, they so I make videos for them on their channel, which obviously they promote and everything like that as well. So things like, and it's kind of like an adaptation I had to do as well. Because at first I was kind of used to, doing my own content and being kind of easy with my own content, but actually I had to make quite a big adaptation into when I actually first did like my content with Excel, because with Excel I kind of wanted to do like a different approach sort of thing. I didn't want to do like kind of similar to what I did on my channel. So I've been doing
that's really interesting. At some points I would like to get to that sponsorship point. But that's an end goal. I do this because it gives me my outlet to do the thing that I love doing the most, talking. So, and that's something that I had noticed when I first got into this. I realized, oh crap, there is another podcast out there. Shout out to the guys at Attack Baron, Rygar and Fiasco. They do some pretty good content as well. But looking down their track list and mine, I was like, oh crap, this is like the same content. So this is where I kind of like, I need to diversify what I do as opposed to what they do. So I wanted to start doing interviews, and I had reached out to a couple of people. Well, they reached out to me, but I already had like ideas of who I wanted to talk to, people that people that made content that I consumed already. So you were like the first person that I reached out to, and then you got back to me like the next day, and I was like, what? Okay. So
I mean, I'm always the sort of person that, I I always like to, talk about things and talk about my experience as well, because it might help other people as well. And like I said, I'm always the sort of person that likes to, give back. I like to do, giveaways and things like that, and I like to give back to the community and kind of thank, people for kind of where I am today. Because at the end of the day, if it isn't for people watching your streams or watching your videos, or even in this instance, watching your podcast and things like that, then you wouldn't really have the motivation to do it. So it's always nice to give back and kind of say thank you in a way. So that's why I like to come on to like these. I've done interviews before on podcasts and things like that. It's actually my first podcast, funny enough. So something a bit different for me, but I'm always happy to help out. I've even done some like casting here and there as well, which I'm giving a try at the moment, which is quite interesting. But I'm always happy to talk about all things and help people out the best that I can with whatever it may be, whether it be in like real life situation or even with things to do with Wild Rift as well.
yeah, absolutely. How was Pokemon Unite?
Oh, I was not expecting this. I did actually quite like it, to be fair. Me personally, I've never actually been a Pokemon fan. I've always been into more Yu-Gi-Oh! And things when I was little and everything. That's always been like my go-to. I've never actually been into Pokemon, but in my opinion, I don't know if people will agree with me or not, but it's definitely a more casual MOBA compared to games like Arena Valor, Vainglory and Wild Rift as well. It's definitely more towards that sort of Pokemon audience where they might not know MOBAs, but they just want a fun game to play. But I mean, personally, I had quite a lot of fun with it. I played it on stream with a bunch of viewers and things like that. It is something a bit different, and it's quite nice to see other MOBAs come into the market as well. But for me, it was a little bit too casual, and I don't feel like there's that competitive sort of cutting edge difference between like maybe lower elo people to high elo people like League of Legends has.
I think it was definitely targeted at the younger and more casual players. I myself, I didn't like it that much. I thought it was too much of a jumbled mix match of stuff. Like, it wasn't your traditional MOBA destroy the towers. It was kind of like an old Dominion style League of Legends map. So it was just really confusing to me on what the actual objective was, probably because I skipped the tutorial. But I could definitely see my son loved playing it. So but he also likes playing Wild Rift, but he's not like, he's 8, so he's not that good.
Yeah, I think it definitely has a quite a big audience as well because it's Pokemon, and I think that's the main thing about it is that anything that Pokemon make, to be fair, will always have a big audience, have a lot of people playing it and things like that, and it is something a bit different, as you said, but I think it's definitely a lot simpler than Wild Rift because it doesn't have these crazy objectives spawning at 4 minutes. It doesn't have any like crazy a lot of champions or a lot of skills that you need to really learn and things like that. It's kind of, I don't know, for me it's kind of basic in a way, but I can see how like there might be a skill discrepancy for people that maybe might know like little things here and there and everything like that. But I mean, I still enjoyed playing it. I can see people really enjoying it because it's a Pokemon game. But unfortunately for me, it wasn't really a thing that I will probably play in the future.
It's surprising to hear you say Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I was a huge Yu-Gi-Oh! Nerd. Going back and watching the shows, they were just terrible. So going back to Pokemon, I think I enjoyed the original games because they were the first of their kind. I mean, that really took Nintendo's career, I think, or company to the next level. my favorite Pokemon game was Pokemon Snap. I just loved the idea of it. But yeah, I think Unite will be pretty interesting, and I think you're right. Most Pokemon things do pretty well.
Yeah, I think even like you said, Pokemon Snap as well, which is something. I mean, honestly, like Pokemon could bring out any sort of game to do with Pokemon, it will do well. To be honest, because like I said, it has that backing and it has that audience as well. And I think because it's free to play as well, it's always quite good. It's on mobile, it's on Switch as well, which is obviously quite a popular console as well. So I think it always have that player base and everything. And there's actually quite a few features on there which I'd like Wild Rift to bring into their sort of MOBA as well. Things like login codes which they have. So every single time you join a lobby, you have a login code, so anyone can enter that code to join in your lobby instead of adding people and things like that. They have a lot more events as well on Pokemon, which I'd like to see on Wild Rift as well. So there's things that Wild Rift can maybe learn from as well, and it's always nice to have that sort of healthy competition there as well for game developers.
So with the idea of the lobby code, does that make it easier for you to play with your viewers?
100%. Yeah, it makes it 20 times easier because at the moment I have to add people and then invite them, and there's no way for them to actually join the game at the moment. They have to like kind of I have to add them or do it like that. Sometimes I can you can open up the lobby, but then like sometimes it might mean that random people that might join that you might not even know or might not be on your stream, because does have like a similar sort of feature. I think it's called I can't remember what it's called, but it's where you can search up and see what lobbies are open and things like that, and you can join them. But there's nothing really to specifically say like, cool, if you have this code, you can join, sort of thing, which would be helpful for obviously streamers and people like me, because then I could be like, cool, if you enter this code, you can join in my game. I can play some games with viewers, which I like to do on stream because it's quite nice to play with viewers and kind of chill for a bit where you don't really need to worry about ranked all the time and everything like that.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about it, because on League of Legends, you would have, or Wild Rift, you would have to delete people from your friends list, add people,
Yeah.
as opposed to, hey, here's the code, first come, first serve.
Yeah, I think that's the most annoying thing, is that like my friends list is full now. So every single time I have to do viewer games, I have to delete people and then re-add them again and all this sort of stuff. And it is quite annoying at times, but maybe something like that might happen in the future, or maybe that Riot Games might come up with something better. Who knows? I think, like I said before, the game's it's still in early stages. There's still quite a lot of things that can be added to the game.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think that was it for the list of questions I had. I know this ran a little bit longer, but again, like I listen to a lot of content on podcasts, so I wanted to do something where we look a little bit more in behind the scenes of what people think, as opposed to necessarily the primary focus being on the game. So this is definitely like an eye-opening experience for me, the way that other people who approach the game from that might understand the back end more of technology and all that stuff, how they would approach the game, how they would approach their content creations, and what they would advise for other people who wanted to go down that role.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, for me, it's been definitely something a bit different for me as well, because like I said, I've never done a podcast before, but I'm always happy to talk about stuff and everything. I think it's quite nice to talk about as well sometimes, because it's nice to sort of sit back, relax, sort of thing, and just talk about something that, well, for me anyway, is your job, and most people it's their their passion and things like that as well. So it's nice to sit back, relax, and just to kind of take a sit back and kind of reflect on the game and everything like that, and what you think about it and everything as well. Is quite nice.
I hope you had a good time. I definitely did. It was nice talking to you. Before we head out, is there anything you want to plug? Your social medias, Excel, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you can find me on pretty much all social media with it's Stuart, which is iTzSTU4RT instead of an A. Don't ask why. I just thought I'd put a number in there for some random reason. But I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. You can find me on my Twitch streams, everything like that as well. Obviously, XL as well. You can follow them. You can watch their YouTube videos and everything as well, because I do content over there. But yeah, I mean, thanks for having me. Like I said, it's my first podcast, and it's nice to sit down and talk about the game. And I've had a really, really good time, to be fair. It's been nice to talk about the game for once instead of playing it all the time.
hopefully in the future we'll have more listeners and we'll come back on again, and maybe like 3-6 months down the road, see, you know, your thought processes and all that stuff, how much you've changed as a creator and a person, what you've gotten better at, what you think has gotten worse, what you've quit putting time and effort into, just like what you've done to optimize your channel.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always happy to come back on, and like I said, thanks again for inviting me. It's been a good time.
Absolutely. And before we go, just for our North American players who don't really understand I want to say the British talk, the Z, he said Z, but we would call it Z. That's just so it'd be ITZ instead of Z. That's not me nitpicking. I just don't want to be like Z.
Yeah, people to misunderstand sort of thing.
Yeah, because they like think it's the character. I mean, they'd probably find you, but I just wouldn't want miscommunication to happen. But I will link all of your socials down in the description. And again, I appreciate having you on, man.
Yeah, thanks again. Appreciate it.
All right, I will talk to you later, buddy.
See ya.